I call this meeting, regular meeting of the North Adams City Council to order for October 22nd, 2024. This meeting is being recorded and can be viewed live on the Northern Berkshire Community Television Station, Channel 1303, and will be posted to their website as soon as possible. We will also be live streaming on YouTube at www.youtube.com/@NorthAdams. Just click on the live, then on the 2024.10.22 council meeting. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Blackmer. Here. Bona. Green.
Here.
Fitch.
Here.
Morrow. Here. Alaskowitz.
Here.
Shade.
Here.
Wilkinson.
Here.
Sapienza.
Here.
8 present.
8 present. We have a quorum. Please rise for a moment of silent remembrance. Tonight we remember Rita Chempa. She was employed by the North Adams Public Schools. And the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Approval of the minutes for the September 24th City Council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, sorry.
Motion to approve, second. Any comments? Any? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. The October 9th, 2024 City Council minutes are not ready yet. Okay. Hearing of visitors on the agenda. This is an opportunity for the public to speak to the council for 2 minutes regarding items listed on the agenda. As a reminder, I will tap the gavel when you have reached the 2-minute limit to signal that your time is ended. And as a courtesy, I also ask that all parties please refrain from personal attacks. Anybody on the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Council paper number 12,393-2, an ordinance to amend the revised ordinances of the City of North Adams under Chapter 13, Sections 29, 40, and 50, postponed from the meeting of September 24th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
Move to continue, or, I'm sorry, what do we?
You want to postpone?
Postpone until second meeting in December, in November.
2nd November, okay.
Second.
We have
Second
Motion.
meeting in November.
I made a second.
okay, we have motion and a second.
I reached out to, I'm trying to tentatively have a meeting next week, but I'm waiting to hear back from Lieutenant Beverly and the Highway Superintendent, Public Works Superintendent Lascarbo. And so if they get back to me, then we can meet then. If not, we'll have to schedule something else.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other further comments? Okay, we have a motion to postpone. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Council paper number 12,433, communication number 71 from Mayor Maxey requesting a public tax classification hearing considering percentages of local tax levy to be allocated to each class of real estate and personal property for the fiscal year 2025. I am going to set the public meeting for the tax levy for Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 at 7 p.m. And let me read the communication into the record. Dear Honorable Councilors, pursuant to the provisions of MGL Chapter 59, Paragraph 2A, Section B, I request that the North Adams City Council conduct a public tax classification hearing on Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the council chamber. The purpose of the hearing will be to consider the percentages of the local tax levy to be allocated to each class of real estate and personal property within the city of North Adams for the fiscal year 2025. And I also have a letter from Jessica Lincourt, if you wish me to read that.
Sure.
Okay, I'll read that into the record. This is to Mayor Jennifer Maxey from Jessica Lincourt, Board of Assessors. Fiscal year 2025 tax classification hearing. The State Commissioner of Revenue has determined that the locally assessed values of real and personal property in North Adams represent full and fair cash valuation as of January 1st, 2024 for fiscal year 2025, and that these proposed property assessments satisfy the minimum requirements for certification. The Commissioner further certifies that all real property has been classified according to its use as of January 1st, 2024, as required by Chapter 59, Paragraph 2A, Section B. The community must now hold a public hearing on the issue of selecting a residential factor, which will determine the percentages of the tax obligation allocated to each class of property for the fiscal year 2025. As in prior years, the members of the Board of Assessors request that you promote public understanding and discussion of the options available to the city with regard to allocating the tax obligation among major property classes. The City Council, with the approval of the mayor, may elect a factor greater than the minimum residential factor or a factor of 1, which will result in a uniform allocation of the tax burden among all classes of property. In addition, they have options to grant an open space discount, residential exemption, and small commercial exemption. Based on the above, I respectfully request that you submit a communication to the City Council at their Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024 meeting requesting that a tax classification hearing be held during the Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 City Council meeting. Sincerely, Jessica Lincourt, Principal Assessor. And motion to accept that.
You just said it and asked if everybody agrees.
Okay. Does anybody have a problem with having that hearing on November 12th or November 12th meeting?
Looks good.
Okay, great. Oh, I'm sorry, Counselor Shade.
Yes, when we have that meeting, what is the deadline to actually vote and set the tax rate? Do we know?
Counselor Blackmer, can you answer that, please?
If we don't set the tax rate, they can't print and send out the bills by December 31st.
Okay,
And then if they can't send them out by December 31st, then they can't have them due by February 1st. So it can impact our cash flow. It's not a matter of setting it and then boom, print bills. I mean, we've got a lot of bills, they have to be printed, stuffed, mailed, et cetera. So the sooner we set it, the better. It also makes it easier because then the offices can move on to the next thing.
makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, moving on. Council paper number 12,434, resolution from Councilor Andrew Fitch and President Sapienza in support of the Northern Tier passenger rail service connecting North Adams to Boston. And Councilor Fitch, would you do us the honor of reading that into the record, please?
Oh, certainly. Stand by.
Do you have a copy of that?
I do.
Okay, great.
Okay. In the City Council, October 22nd, 2024, upon the recommendation of Council President Brian Sapienza and Councilor Andrew Fitch, the resolution, whereas the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, Mass DOT, has conducted a 2-year study examining the benefits, costs, and investments necessary to implement passenger rail service from North Adams to Boston with the speed, frequency, and reliability necessary to be a competitive option for travel along this corridor. And whereas the Northern Tier Passenger Rail Study aimed to engage the working group, study stakeholders, and the public, assess historic, current, and forecasted future conditions, develop and examine the potential service alternatives that could connect communities along the corridor, and identify potential recommendations and next steps. Whereas Mass DOT has proposed 6 viable options that take into account the aforementioned qualifications. Whereas the Northern Tier Passenger Rail would build predominantly on existing locomotive infrastructure, reducing costs as compared to a similar scale project such as the East-West Passenger Rail. Whereas the Northern Tier Passenger Rail places the city of North Adams in a prime transitional gateway between the Pioneer Valley, New York, and Boston, increasing traffic throughout a variety of sectors. Whereas the completion of the Northern Tier Passenger Rail contributes to the economic development and emboldenment of communities throughout the state, allowing for North Adams to revitalize its tourism sector, create new avenues of revenue production, and economic opportunities for all residents. Whereas the 60-day public commenting period put forth by MassDOT has concluded as of October 12th, 2024. Whereas we acknowledge the Northern Tier Passenger Rail remains in preliminary planning and staging phases. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the North Adams City Council and the Mayor of City of North Adams is in full support of the collaboration between MassDOT, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and local communities to fully realize, complete, and open the Northern Tier Passenger Rail service that would connect North Adams to Boston. Be it further resolved that the completion of the Northern Tier Passenger Rail project aligns with our vision to strengthen the city of North Adams as an economic and cultural center, as well as increased diversification of the workforce, access to medical resources, and other cultural hubs throughout the state. Be it further resolved that members of the North Adams City Council will periodically and openly update the public about any proceedings regarding the Northern Tier Passenger Rail, particularly any information that directly affects the city of North Adams and its residents. Be it further resolved that the North Adams City Clerk shall send a copy of this signed resolution to Mayor Jennifer Maxey, MassDOT, Governor Maura Healey, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll, State Representative John Barrett III, State Senator Paul Mark, and the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, One Berkshire, the Berkshire Eagle, iBerkshires, and other local media outlets. And then, once it's completed, approved on this date.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Counselor Blackmer, Counselor Leskowitz. Any discussion? Counselor Shade.
The potential of this project could have a huge impact on the future of Western Massachusetts, especially Northern Berkshire. It would give us access to the eastern part of the state, which we are incredibly isolated from, and we haven't had in 70 years. It's an extremely important project, but also people should know this is not happening tomorrow. It's not happening next year. It may not even start for another decade. So, while I support a project like this, I wonder if we're pulling the trigger on a resolution too soon without really having full details of what a project's going to be, what kind of investment the city will be required to put in, what kind of impact environmentally. A lot of those studies still haven't been done yet. The studies that have been done are how do we make the connection from A to B? And there's 6 programs, and I believe they said 4 of them probably aren't even viable. So I support the project, and I think it's incredibly important for North Adams. I just wonder if we're jumping out a little too far ahead before we actually know what this is going to be.
Okay, I'm going to say a couple of quick things. I know that in a lot of areas, rail service has been on the increase, and there's a couple of actual new rail services. One of them recently is the North Carolina DOT and the Virginia DOT has recently entered a joint venture to operate rail passenger service between those 2 states. The state of Florida has also opened 2 lines, one called the Bright Line, which runs from Miami to Orlando, terminates at the Orlando International Airport, and then has another service called the, I think it's called Sunrail, if I remember correctly, that runs from western Volusia County to the city of DeLand down into Orlando. And the idea is that the main highway between the Daytona Beach area and the Orlando area is very congested. In our case, it's not so much traffic congestion, but trying to drive over Route 2 during a nasty storm. we have a lot of people that go back and forth between Boston for either their livelihoods or for government purposes, and having a rail service that can bypass hazardous roads at different times would be, in my opinion, would be a great thing to have, and I think it would encourage growth in this area. Councilor Blackmer?
As someone who's been driving back and forth from North Adams to Boston for years now, in my role with the Mass Municipal Association and other organizations, it is congestion. If you have to go during rush hour, it's ridiculous. If you have to go non-rush hour Sunday night coming back in October, not Cape Cod weekend in the summer, it took an extra hour, hour and a half. So it's also wasted time. It's you're using vehicles, sometimes with one person in a lot of them. And it's a waste of time. At least if you're sitting on a train, you can work or you can sleep or you can relax. You're not like totally stressed out waiting for someone not to hit you. So I do think it's important to have the west-east rail so that we can get into the city and back to do our business.
Thank you. Councilor Fitch?
Yes, my hope with this resolution as well was just to indicate that we're interested in moving forward and having a conversation about this. My hope was also just to make sure that this does get to Mass DOT and other stakeholders at the state level, that North Adams actually does want this, to make that really clear to them.
Councilor Shade?
As somebody who doesn't drive, this is a beautiful thing for somebody like me. But again, I support a passenger train. We need to do something like this. My only question is, when you throw a blanket resolution out without knowing full details, what are you really supporting? Well, that's my only potential concern is, what if the project turns into what we don't want it to turn into? What if it turns into something else and we've already now said in a resolution that we're committed to supporting this project? That's my only concern.
Okay, Councilor Leskowitz?
I believe this is just a resolution showing that we're in support of this. I think there's no concrete plans that is going through each city and town from here to Boston where impacts will be made, costs to each municipality would have to be incurred. So I think those will probably be later conversations as years go down the road as to what impacts it'll have through each community and what costs we might have to bear. As I tell you, I think we're just passing a resolution showing support for the concept.
That's all this was intended as a resolution of support. Anybody else? Okay, this will be a roll call vote.
Blackmer,
Yes.
Breen,
Yes.
Fetch,
Yes.
Morrow,
Yes.
I couldn't hear you.
Yes.
Alaskowitz.
Yes.
Shade,
Yes.
Wilkinson,
Yes.
Sapienza,
Yes.
8 yea.
Okay. All right, just a quick note, if we want to sign this tonight, I ask everybody to come up to the desk after we finish the meeting tonight. Okay, moving on, licenses, we have none. Open forum. Okay, this is an opportunity for the public to speak to the council for 2 minutes on issues of municipal significance. As a reminder, I will tap the gavel when you reach your 2-minute limit, and I do ask that, as a courtesy, you refrain from any personal attacks. Anybody for open forum? Hearing none. Moving on. Mayor's updates. We don't have the mayor tonight. She is home convalescing. And we'll move on at this point to committee reports and minutes. Liaison updates, counselor concerns. Anybody? Counselor Morrow.
So there is a few things going on in the community this week that I just wanted to let you all know about. The first thing is through Berkshire Community Action, there's an Elf warm clothing program, and It provides new winter jackets, boots, and other warm accessories such as gloves and scarves to families every year for children up to age of 12. And if you wanted to fill out an application for that, the website is bcacinc.org. And you can fill it out to register. You can also donate some clothes or money to buy more clothes if you wanted to. And the deadline for that is October 31st, which is next week. Another
One more
thing,
time on the site.
it is bcacinc.org. Got it, okay. And then the next thing is the NBCC Trick or Treat event is happening this Friday from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. And let's see, there was one more thing I want to talk about. Oh yes, and then also this Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. is the Haunted House at the Mohawk Theater that is being hosted, and that is a free event, and that is supposed to be very spooky, very fun, and you get to go and see a community-themed haunted house, so that should be fun as well.
Okay. Council Blackmer.
I just want to remind the counselors, I don't know if they've been getting the emails, but November 16th is the Mass Municipal Association Counselors Association kind of training. It's not the new counselors training, it's the next level. And it is in Cypress Keys, Boylston, Mass, so it's not all the way to the other end of the state, it's about halfway. Registration's 8:15 to 9, and then with panelists covering budgeting and finance, kind of the next level, zoning, which we've never covered before, and then also kind of the things you wish you knew, an opportunity to talk to other counselors from across the state in different kinds of forms of government. Lunch will, and then followed by lunch at 12:45, so you should be able to be home in time for any evening events. But registration it ends, I think, the 25th. We have a commitment we have to make, so if you're interested in it, could you please go online and register for that. Also, the MMA annual meeting has changed this year. It's still in January, but they're starting it on Thursday afternoon, January 23rd. It goes through Saturday the 25th. It is also being moved away from the Heinz Convention Center to the Boston Convention Center down by the Seaport. If you go to MMA.org and click on events and click on Connect 351, it's no longer the annual meeting, it's Connect 351, and it's obviously you can see the workshops, who the speakers are going to be, and then get with the mayor's office. You can go online and register. So it's a great opportunity. We don't have a lot of opportunity for training, and it's a great way, one, to meet people, two, to get some training and background in different things. And I guess that's it.
Okay. Councilor Shade.
Yes, thank you. I want to remind everybody that before our next council meeting, there will be an election. So please remember to go out and vote. Also remember to do your research on the ballot questions. They are just as important, if not more important, than the candidates running for office. So do your research, be prepared, and get out and vote. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Fitch.
Speaking of getting out as well, there's a downtown celebration opportunity called First Fridays, every first Friday of the month. This next one is Friday, November 1st from 5 to 8. You'll see the shops, the galleries, the restaurants having a little something extra that evening. You'll also see projection art up against different buildings and certain offerings on the sidewalk, like free offerings for people passing by. There's also an after party at Bright Ideas that I believe runs till 10 p.m. So go and check that out.
Okay. I just want to add one last thing real quick. The State Fire Marshal's Office wants to remind everybody that heating season is almost in full swing. I'm sure most of us have already turned the heat on in our houses. And remind those folks at home that to make sure your heating systems are working properly, you have properly working carbon monoxide monitors, and if the monitor goes off, get out of the house and call 911. And Also, another hazard is fire. Improperly installed or functioning heating systems can also cause damage and loss of life through fires and things like that. So just be careful, and let's get through the heating season safe. And moving on to correspondence. I have an announcement here for the November 5th, 2024 presidential and state general election. In-person early voting began on Saturday, October 9th, 2024, between 9 and 5 p.m. And from Monday, October 21st, to Friday, October 25th, 2024, the voting hours are 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. On Saturday, October 26th, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday, October 28th, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, October 29th, 2024, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And Wednesday, October 30th through Friday, November 1st, 2024, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Voter registration deadline is on Saturday, October 26th at 5 p.m. Vote by mail application deadline is Tuesday, October 29th at 5 p.m. The election day is going to be on, of course, November 5th, and the location is going to be at the St. Elizabeth of Hungary Recreation Center, and the hours for that are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Okay, anybody else? No correspondence. Okay. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.